Hello there, this is Jeff Erdman, E.D.S. Inc., Shandon, and I have another little project today that I started on, and it's I have a whole new experience for myself. I'm going to be turning apart eccentrically, so we have two different centers. I've got it set up in a lathe so that I have two different possible centers on the bar that I'm cutting on the lathe, and so both of them, one of them will be a 2-inch diameter, the other one's going to remain the diameter it is now, but I'll need to use that center for to put some features on the part that I'm making. And what it is it's really just a real simple project. It's a cap. Will be a cap on a piece of tubing like this. The 2-inch side of the part will actually go into a piece of tube like this. The other part will hang out around that tube. A chain will be hooked to the bottom of that and run to another of these caps. And basically it's going to be a safety chain to prevent people from falling off a platform. And so the top of it will have a radius around it, so there's no chance of hurting yourself on that. And the chain will be bolted to the underside of the part that will be hanging out, and so the chain will be down here. It'll stop them from falling this direction away from the steel pipe that's sticking up. So that's the reason for the part. Let me give you a little drawing of it. Let's see if you can see that okay. Hopefully so. So basically you can see our outside diameter is 3 1/4. Our inside is 2 inches. And actually the part that I'm going to be making, this round part here, will be 1.88, because that's what will fit on the inside of the pipe. The top of it will look more like this feature here. So this will be the part where the chain will fasten to the overhanging part. This is the 1.88 part that will slip inside the tubing, and of course the radius features on the top. So that's what we're making, or we're attempting to make. I've never done this before. So what I've done is I have the center of my outside hole, or outside diameter of this 3 1/4, and then I have a center for the 2-inch part. And right now I've got it set up for that 2-inch part so that we can trim that down out of that big part to 2 inches. So there's 4 parts I have to make, and we'll go ahead and get going on that. Actually, I've started already. So that's what this video is going to be on. And like I said, this is the first time that I've tried doing something like this. I've seen some done on other videos, but this is the first time that I've done it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to now pan you over to the lathe, show you my setup and the tool that I'm using to do the cutting, and since it's an interrupted cut to start with, and then how I got it all set up. What we have here, this is my dog, my lathe dog, and I'm going to take this out of gear. So that helps you to see what I've done to drive it. I've got a piece of steel in here. This is actually a lathe tool for my Monarch that I had, and I've got it clamped to my chuck jaw. I've got some brass in between the bolt and the jaw to avoid scarring it, and then of course the other part of the clamp is over here against this piece of metal. And so this piece of metal, since the dog goes way beyond my chuck, this piece of metal is what's driving my dog, which in turn drives the part that I'm working with. So kind of a Rube Goldberg there, but for those of you that remember that term, but it works efficiently and spins this pretty well. That's my tool there, and it's just basically it's about a 1/4 inch piece of tool steel, and with a bevel on it to cut that off. Once I get it more rounded, then I'll switch to one of my carbide tips to cut it cleaner and prettier. But right now this does a better job because it's an interrupted cut. It's only cutting a little bit off at a time, and I'd get almost like a thread cut with a regular tool. This one I get a nice cut out of it as I go. So let's go ahead and we'll get this started up, and we'll show you the first cut here. Not the first cut, but the first one you're going to see. Okay, you might be able to hear that click, click. The corner of my tool holder is hitting the high spot on the rod. So I'm going to have to extend my tool bit in my holder so that that does not happen. So let's get that done, and I'll get back to you. Okay, I've changed my tooling. I put it's about a 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch piece of high-speed steel on now, and what I had before was 1/4 inch, so much smaller. So I'm just gonna, I set this to just barely touch off on that, and I just want to run it all the way out back and set my stop. Then we'll start our next cut. So you can still see that we still have a little bit of material to cut out yet. But we're starting to round her out. I think I'll keep using this tip on it until I get a little bit closer. I just have a little bit of a crown here. Then I'll switch tools to my regular bit. I wanted to show you something real quick. So I don't want to move that. You can see, well, there's a lot of lines going across that, but there's a line right through here. I used my carriage to make a line on this with my carbide tool, and so then I could get my centers off of that line. And my offset center as well, and that's how I originally laid it out. So okay, back to the action, guys. So let's crank this in another 200. Let's see how she does. Whoop. Something busted. Oh, I know what happened. I changed the speed on the thing. So we'll have to. Well, you got that on tape. How do you like that? Okay, I put my carbide tip in it. Now we're making our final pass. Let me get down here so you can see it. There you go. So what happened here? The dog was not against this bar. It was separated by a space of so much. And I had inadvertently, I thought I'd had it in neutral, but I put it into high speed. When I turned on the machine, the dog slammed against this part and slipped over the top of it and then slammed into this and held against that. And that was that bang you heard. And then of course it took me because I jumped back. It scared the pants off me. I jumped back. I thought everything was flying out of the machine. And then it took me a second to get up here and hit the pedal to stop her. But at any rate, it didn't go off my centers, so there wasn't a problem that way. It didn't damage my bit. It just, when this dog hit this, it hit it so hard, it rolled right over the top of it. So what I did is I moved this bar out a little bit further so that there's no way this could roll over it. It was just about centered on this dog, which I thought was fine, and it should have been, but for that event. So anyway, learning how to deal with these things and come off smiling, hopefully. Okay, so this is the cutoff part, but this kind of shows you how I made two rounds, an outside round and an inside round. This is off center from this one. The way we do that is we turn it on centers and we have two holes. One is dead center and one is whatever you want that offset to be. And for this one, it's 1 inch from the edge. And the purpose was for this to sit inside here. This isn't turned to size. The others are. but it'll fit on the inside of this tube, and then I'll have a cap. It'll be basically like this. Once I get done with the others, they're only about so thick. But then I'll have a bolt in here with a piece of chain, and that piece of chain will prevent people from falling off a deck. And this is basically going to be a temporary barricade on a lift gate, so folks don't fall off the lift gate while it's going up and down while it's being operated. So that's the purpose of this system. So this is what we made, and you can see it's offset, and I haven't polished up the top yet or cleaned it up yet, but that fits right down into that tube. Now, of course, the tubes that we're dealing with are going to be, they're 4 foot or 3'6" high, and so right here there'll be a bolt, a drilled and tapped hole, and a bolt will hold a chain into this, and so these will be all removable from the lift gate on the truck. You can remove them relatively quickly, and so it prevents a fall hazard. Okay, so that pretty much does it there. We got those holes tapped. Now all we have to do is measure the chain, fasten it to each one of these things. These are all going to be painted yellow. It'll be security yellow, kind of like a caution tape. So unfortunately, McMaster Carr back ordered my paint, so we'll just have to wait until that shows up. Okay, so the lift gate safety features are completed. These rails are just metal tubing, about 1/16 inch wall. We put a bolt, inverted bolt, on the bottom, drilled and tapped the bed, and just screw those into it. The bolt is only about a half an inch long, so it doesn't take much to screw it in. And then we have our little caps that slide on and off to the, well, I'll have to loosen that bolt a little bit, but basically these will slide on and off to the top rail so that we can dismantle it. And when this isn't being used to go up and down on, because people will ride on this up into the bed. There's no ladder into the bed, and then foodstuffs will be put onto the back of the bed, lowered and rolled out, and the folks on that bed going up and down need to be protected from falling off the sides. So that's what those chains and the guards are for. So another little project done. Well, this is Jeff Erdman, E.D.S. Inc. Shandon, and we just completed another little project. We made some posts with bolts on the bottom to put onto a lift gate, and then we made some little tops that we can fasten chain to. They can pop in and out, so they can just pop those out, unscrew the post, and dismantle that anytime that they want to fold that tailgate back up. So that made a well, it's temporary, so it's only being used while the tailgate's being used, so the liftgate rather. So it's a temporary situation, but reusable. They can keep set it up anytime that they need to, and tear it down when they need to. It didn't have to be pretty, it just had to be functional. We're going to paint those a caution yellow, including the chain, but unfortunately the paint didn't come in. I'd ordered that from McMaster Car. Usually they're one day, but they didn't get that to us, so we didn't get it painted, so that'll have to happen on another day. But that'll be the end of this video. We might take a shot of those after we paint them, but we'll see. Anyway, thanks for watching. If you enjoy the content of E.D.S. Inc. Shandon, please subscribe, and our little channel's growing just little smidges at a time. We want to thank you for all of you that are viewing it and watching it. I've had some favorable comments from you, so I want to thank you for that. So that'll be it for tonight. Thanks much. Thanks for joining E.D.S. Inc. Shandon. Talk to you later.